everybody, Too Tired here with the Motovlog coming at you. So yeah, as I said, I'm Too Tired. This is my first ever Motovlog, so hopefully there's lots to come. Hopefully this goes well. Today I'll be mostly talking to you about my bike here, my 2017 FZ-09, and I'm going to do a lot of yakking about it and past bikes I've owned and all kinds of good stuff. Yeah, I'm just hoping to kind of make some YouTube videos and hope there's some interest in them. And the focus of this channel is kind of, well, it's obviously going to be bikes, but I'm hoping to, do a little bit of motovlogging a couple times a week maybe, and then get into doing some reviews, maybe some first rides, just, general motorcycle-related YouTube stuff. So, yeah, anyway. Here I am on my red 2017 FZ-09, and I've had this bike since May. It's the beginning of August right now, and I don't know, I can't get enough of riding this bike. Everybody says they love their bike, and I say it all the time, and I really do. I love this bike. It's a bit of a step from, well, not up or down, depending how you look at it, but it's a step away from super sports, which I've rode in the past. I've mostly been a Gixxer guy. I've owned 2 Gixxers. I've rode, countless other bikes. So I'm coming from GSXRs to this thing, and I don't think I'll ever go back. I do miss my super sports once in a while, mainly just stability at high speeds, but I try, like, the older I get, kind of the saner I ride. I actually, that's probably a lie, but I just ride insane, I guess, in a different way. I don't, you don't catch me going over 200 very often, if ever, these days. But I definitely like getting there fast, and that's where this bike does it for me down low. And occasionally, I like doing it on one wheel. So that's where this bike is real nice as well. Yeah, like I said, I've had this bike since May. And I've had the pleasure of putting 11,353 kilometers on this bike to date. So that's a few in a few months. People tell me I ride lots. I think I ride a lot. I try to ride most days. Just got finished a 7,000 kilometer trip through Western Canada and through the northern states. It was phenomenal. Did that with my girlfriend on her Ninja 650, and we had a ton of fun, and it'll probably end up being a yearly thing we do until something changes in our life. So that's where we're at right now. So anyways, back to the bike. Bought this bike. These bikes, when I started looking at them, I thought I would be expecting to spend more on a bike that is this capable. I kind of, being the silly guy that I am, I didn't really look into the price of them. I just started looking into the bikes, and I thought this bike is awesome. From the reviews that I watched, the first rides I watched, everything I watched said this is the bike for you. And then I went in and priced one out, and I was like, geez, that's like, I know it's a good chunk of change still, but compared to other bikes on the market, I thought that's a pretty good deal. And after I finally got the pleasure of test riding one, I pulled the trigger immediately, and I regret nothing. This bike I have as much fun riding it today as I did when I first bought it. So there's that, and yeah, it's a step away from sport bikes again. I mean, this thing is sporty as all heck, but it's sporty in a different way. There's a guy who also apparently appreciates the FZ-09 life. So anyways, I lost my train of thought there. Back to this bike. Step away from sport bikes. It's it's still got tons of power to compete with just about any super sport bike out there. Well, barring a few exceptions, but it's more comfy for sure. Like I had long trips in mind when I bought this bike, and I mean, I know you're probably gonna say, "Oh, Too Tired, why didn't you buy adventure bike or a touring bike or whatever?" It's because of the triple engine in this bike, and I mean, I know they have it in the FJ and in the Super Series and stuff like that, but if I'm going to be doing one big trip a year, I want a bike that still maintains that sex appeal. I think these FZ-09s look great. A lot of people on the fence about them or don't think they're very appealing physically. But I don't know, this bike, the curves and everything she's got going for her, does it for me. And that's what I'll say on the appearance. I mean, I did a couple things that needed a windshield. The signal lights were god awful, so I got rid of them. I wasn't a big fan of the hugger, I'll call it. I don't know, where they had the plate mounted and the way the fender was on these 17s. It just wasn't my thing. And I mean, if you like that, then that's fine. Actually, I'll go as far as to say that if I couldn't have got rid of it, it's one of the nicer undertail setups for a factory bike. Like if like I said, if I couldn't change it, that's the way I would want it. But I still think changing it made it look better. I did just eBay undertail. I just basically bought a license plate holder off eBay, and I bought a new axle and block and everything so that I could switch this over to the non-swing arm style plate holder and all that stuff. And I think it looks great. I think it looks way better. It was cheap to do. So yeah, that's that. I mean, I know I'm talking a bit about the appearance, and you guys can't really see my whole bike right now. I will be doing kind of a cinematographic words, a thing that'll show you what my bike looks like here. I just figured I'd get a motovlog put together and get my first one up on the old YouTubes and hopefully get some people watching. The biggest thing about this bike that sold me on it was the power and where it is. Not necessarily how much power the bike makes, but how much it makes and where. People, if you ride with me, if you're watching this, you're probably sick of me hearing this, or sick of hearing me say this already. But what I love about this bike is that 2,500 RPM, you're getting 55 foot-pounds of torque, and that is friggin' nutsos. Like if definitely not speeding. Yeah, it's phenomenal, and I love it. That was like second gear rolling at, I don't know how fast I was going, but not fast enough to be in the power band of any bike, to be in the zone of any super sport. I don't know, I just love it. You have tons of power everywhere you want it, and it excites me. I mean, to put it in perspective, the 2011 GSX-R 750 I was riding before made 9 foot-pounds of torque at 2,500 RPM. I mean, that's nothing. And there's two things that I wanted to get away from with super sport bikes that made me fall in love with this thing, and that was the seating position. Which, I mean, yeah, a lot of people ride super sports, a lot of people can handle the seating position, and me doing 7,000 kilometers in 9 days, I would have shot myself right in the face riding a super sport. And I know there's people who do a bit of touring on them, and I mean, power to you if you can do it. I look at guys riding super sports on long trips, and I go, that must be nice that you can handle that. So the seating position was one thing, and then where the power was, and I mean, you take a super sport and more like your Gixxers, your CBRs, your Ninjas, all those bikes, they're real sluggish down low. I mean, if you wanna go, you gotta launch them hard. You gotta be on it. You gotta keep the RPM high. You gotta be kind of over that 6,000 RPM range before you're in the excitement zone. And this bike, the way Yamaha designed this engine, they brought that fun zone down to off the clutch, immediate. You're in the fun zone, and it's just awesome. I love it. It's what I wanted out of a bike. It's where I wanted the power, and I'm super stoked that's what they did, and that it jived with the two things I was looking for. The seating position on this bike is super comfy compared to a Gixxer, CBR, Ninja, whatever. And the power is everywhere you want it, except maybe screaming at 200 kilometers an hour, then you kind of run out of it. But those are the two big things that sold me on this bike, and those are the two things that make it enjoyable to ride every day, no matter what you're doing. And as far as complaints, I don't have many that I can really blame the bike for. I mean, the seat 7,000 kilometers, 9 days, I want to burn it. Like, I want to take the seat off and burn it. And that's one thing that I think Yamaha really missed on. I mean, just because you have a commuter bike, a naked bike, doesn't mean you can't put a seat on it that somebody could hypothetically tour with. So, if Yamaha's listening, put a freaking better seat on this thing. I mean, I know you guys make a comfier seat that you can buy, but, I mean, why should somebody have to buy a seat to make their motorcycle bearable to be on? Don't you guys, like, doesn't it make sense for manufacturers to want people to spend time on their bikes and fall in love with them? That, to me, makes sense. I mean, anybody that's spent more than a couple hours on an FZ knows that these seats aren't good. I like some aspects of it. I like that it pushes me forward and it makes me feel like, you know, kind of gives you that dirt bike feel. Very narrow where you actually sit. Very narrow where you sit, and it pushes you forward to put you in the cradle of the seat, which is really nice. But I mean, how hard would it be to design a seat that if you want to sit on for more than an hour, to just push yourself back a little bit and make a kind of a comfy spot in the seat? So that's my thoughts on the seat. And another thing that I would say kind of cheeses me off about this bike is if you're a hooligan at all, which, I mean, let's face it, if you ride an FZ-09, you're probably a bit of a hooligan. Now, I know some people who ride FZ-09s that are tame, conscientious, you know, law-abiding citizens. But if you want to have fun on your FZ-09, this little check engine light is almost always on. I find I mean, you do a little burnout, and all of a sudden your traction control system or your ABS system or whatever determines that your rear wheel is spinning and your front one is not, and then it's mad at you and it thinks something's wrong, and it just comes on, and then there's no way of clearing the code without taking it to your dealer. And I get that I don't know why, maybe they're trying to push some more service dollars through their dealer or what, but I don't like that. Like, it's a simple check engine light code that's on. There's no reason it has to be on all the time. It's I mean, how hard it would be, there's two buttons right there, how hard would it be to just come up with some sort of button configuration where it clears your codes, and if they're not relevant anymore, they just go away. I mean, there's bikes have been doing that for years and years, and I don't even think there's a way to check the code on here. So even if a code comes up, you're kind of sitting there like, oh, well, is it, you know, if a lot of times codes come on for no reason or for a reason that shouldn't stop you from riding. And I mean, if I was a more concerned person, a check engine light to me might mean don't ride your motorcycle, like something's bad here. So, I mean, I've been riding with that one on for thousands of kilometers because I know what it is, and I know that it doesn't matter. It's just a code that has to get cleared, but it's also annoying because if something was legitimately wrong with my motorcycle right now, I wouldn't know, and I probably wouldn't stop anyways. It's like the boy who cried wolf going on here. I mean, if my bike's always telling me check engine, even though there's nothing wrong with any part of my bike, I'm just going to start ignoring that, and it's not good for you know, the longevity of your motorcycle to have it set up that way, and it's not good for warranty, et cetera, et cetera. If there was something genuinely wrong with my motorcycle, I'd be riding it and possibly doing damage. So that kind of cheeses me off again. And as you'll see, my ABS light is blinking, which is also stupid. I don't know why it blinks. I don't know why it comes on sometimes. When it is blinking, my ABS is absolutely not working, and I'm still kind of trying to figure out a rhyme or a reason as to why it's blinking and when it comes on and what the heck is going on there. So yeah, it's sporadic. It starts blinking sometimes. I mean, at least it's nice enough to let me know that if I jam on the binders that my ABS is not going to work. So if you're a person who is often putting yourself in a situation where you need to stop and you need your ABS to work, maybe just don't do that on FZ-09, because I know I don't really rely on my ABS. I have engaged it a time or two. So yeah, anyway, ABS barely ever works. At least it tells me when it's not working. And yeah, so that's what I know about that. And now, so those are my complaints. We'll get those done. Those are done. My complaints are done. And as far as everything else about the bike, if I could give it 6 thumbs up, I would. The engine is sweet. The chassis is sweet. I got the suspension. I'm a heavy guy. I basically crank everything the way the suspension is. Everything is tweaked right to the nard, and it carries me well. I'm like 260 pounds, and yeah, it's legit. I think it rides pretty nice. Most people might say it rides a little on the stiff side. That's the way I like bikes when I corner. Through the mountains, through the twisties, through Washington, through the Cascade Mountains, through the Rockies in British Columbia, everything. I just love the way this bike felt on the road. It's very confidence inspiring. Like comparing this bike to other naked bikes, I guess. I rode a GSX S1000, Suzuki 1000 naked bike. Like the bike, still felt like a super sport in its power curve because of the 4-cylinder it had in it, and I didn't like how it felt. Like, and it seems like Suzuki's new bikes are starting. Everything that is a GSXR, anyways, feels weird to me. Like it just feels like they have somebody who's kind of out of touch with what riders want running that. A couple of, like, and I'm pretty in tune with a lot of first rides and stuff that go on in the YouTube scene, and it seems like a lot of people are kind of agreeing with me, or at least they're coming up with the same consensus with those bikes. But yeah, I think I love my bike. I know I love my bike, and this is, I figured I'd just do a little bit of a motovlog, talking about my bike, talking about why I love it, talking about a couple things that I don't like about it. The good way outweighs the bad, and I will be holding on to this bike for a lot of years. If somebody made me trade it on something, I'd be sad, and probably the only way I would trade this bike on something is if I could trade it for something more valuable, sell it, and buy another FZ-09. I would love to have 2 of these bikes sitting in my garage, to be honest. I would love to have one for cruising, touring, maybe an FJ-09, and then have just a hooned out FZ-09 with cages, bars, super sweet stuff to just, parking lot bash this thing. But that's a ways away. When you buy a new bike, it kind of drains your old bike funderino. So yeah. Anyways, this is me signing off. Too tired, first motovlog. Thanks you guys for watching. I'll save this for the end. If you guys liked what you saw, give it a like, give it a subscribe if you want to see more of this stuff. And I'm gonna go meet up with my bike and bros and brodettes and go for a little ride, Saskatoon style. All right, peace out.